far this year. I don't think you've given up a rushing touchdown. What are your kind of thoughts on that? What have been the key contributing factors to that success?
Well, I mean, just sticking to our technique, sticking to the game plan, execute the game plan as much as possible, and, just come ready to play on Saturdays and have a great week of practice.
So is that more of just like, I mean, obviously you guys have a very talented defensive front and linebackers, but is that something, are the coaches always harping on that, like we're not going to let the run game beat us? Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, of course, it first comes with stopping the run on first and second down, even if they've been past the ball. But, first, Kirby, Coach Smart wants us to stop the run first, and then, of course, wants us to stop the pass. But, of course, he emphasizes stopping the run.
And then in terms of the defense, I mean, coming out of halftime, it feels like the last few games, y'all really kind of clamped down there in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of goes into that? Where some of those adjustments made?
Well, I mean, just at halftime, we always come in. We, no matter what the score is, we don't ever worry about the score. We always just want to fix our adjustments, fix our mistakes, and come back out of the halftime and execute them at a high level and not worry about the score until the end of the game.
How would you say this year's defensive front's different than last year's, just overall, in general terms?
As a D-line or as in just a defensive in general?
Both.
Well, I mean, I just say havoc. We really preached havoc this year. I feel like there's only one game that we didn't reach our havoc goal. So we really been preaching that we need to create more havoc and get more TFLs, sacks, PBUs, anything as much as possible to, emphasize our defensive quality.
Do the stunts and the blitzes, they make that big of a difference for a defensive lineman in terms of freeing you guys up and helping you guys make plays?
Yeah, I feel like us being able to move more instead of just playing technique has helped us out a lot. We're able to, create more havoc and get more pressure on the quarterback as much as possible, make him uncomfortable, and I think that's helped.
So do you get to find a balance on your point, though, like in terms of havoc and staying back and pass coverage at all? Do you get to find a balance there at all?
Well, I mean, wherever fits better. I mean, of course, we want to get sacks as much as possible, but I mean, there's definitely a balance, I think, in my opinion, with tackles for loss and us getting sacks on the quarterback. There's definitely a balance there.
When you guys have 11 penalties like on Saturday, what are kind of the repercussions when you're back in practice first day? Do you run extra sprints or anything like that?
Well, I mean, we definitely come back and on Mondays and stuff. Coach tells us the penalty report, emphasizes that we need to put a stop to it as much as possible because this is going to only hurt us in the long run, getting later down in the season. So we try to prevent penalties as much as possible.
No extra up downs or anything like that?
No, we had no time. But after practice, we have a penalty. He makes us do like sprints or meet with the strength staff and do extra little running and stuff like that, just to make sure that we try not to create that problem again.
What are the big hits like Stokes and LeCount had? What do they do to a defense when you see those types of hits?
Man, that when I saw Stokes hit that quarterback, I got so fired up. I was like, man, like that dude was on like a 205 hitting a guy like that. Man, look, it brings definitely a big emphasis on this defense. That look, man, like it's easy for us to create havoc and see guys like him do that. So seeing us defensive back doing that, it only fires up the defensive line and the linebackers and the other guys on the defense.
What's the challenge specifically, would you say, with South Carolina's offense this weekend?
I say so far we've been preaching that they go fast. They like our tempo. So I feel like today at practice, during our scout team periods, that we're going tempo very fast, try to get a play off in every 10 seconds as much as possible. So, I mean, that's definitely their go-to and try to get defenses off balance and stuff like that. We've been seeing film on the previous teams that they played, like Bama and whatnot. They were able to get them off balance a little bit with the tempo. So we're trying to, prevent that as much as possible throughout the week so we can be ready on Saturday.
In terms of the coaching staff, I feel like from an outside perspective, a lot of people know of Kirby and then the assistants and the guys where they can say where they can put in a name and a face together and everything. But what type of role do the guys like a quality control staff or a development guy or a graduate assistant? Like, what type of role do those people?
I'll say the type of role that they have is a big role. They help us prepare as much as possible throughout the week. The guys, the coaching staff, they help us a lot get ready for the game plan, and they're honestly like the key guys in our opinion because they get us ready for subscripts and stuff like that, and before the game practices and stuff like that. And so yeah, I think they help a lot.
In terms of game planning and film for this week, is there anything about Helinski that's kind of been hammered to y'all or kind of stuck with you about him and his play style?
Not yet so far. I mean, I know just so far we're getting the basics out right now, so we haven't really got too deep into it just yet. But I'm certain for later on in the week we'll get into it.
Justin, I think you mentioned you thought about transferring. What ultimately changed your mind or made you say, no, I'm sticking around? Well,
I mean, personally, I love this school. I never wanted to put my name in the portal. At first, I thought it was a good decision, but then I, talked to my family, talked to my, some close friends and whatnot, and had a time where I spoke to God as well when I just about my situation, and I just felt like sticking out here was just the best for me, and then to get an education here is an unbelievable achievement, and I know my grandfather who passed always wanted me to do that, so that kind of also affected me. I wanted to stay as well, and still try to put as much value that I can out on the field as well, even if I haven't touched the field as much as I wanted to. So I mean, the couple of days before spring practice, Coach Scott gave me a call. He said, "Man, this is like your contract year. Like, what you gonna do with it? Like, you need to give it everything you got." And so I took that and went into spring practice 1, and gave it everything I had until the last day, and I was able to get to.
That was this year?
That was this year. Yeah.
So had you decided against transferring like midway or around sometime during last season?
Sometime during last season, before the season started, before we went into camp, I was in the portal, and then right before we went into summer workouts, I took my name out, and I decided that I was just going to stick it out.
Does it make it harder for guys to leave a team that's winning too? Like, do you want to be around? Mm-hmm. Do you want to even just rather be on the sideline for a winning team than?
Well, I mean, some guys have certain perspectives on whether they want to stay because the team's winning, or whether they feel like they need to go because they feel like they actually deserve and have the opportunity to go to the next level and to play at the high level. But I mean, my perspective, I was like, man, if I play, if I don't play, I don't care. I'm committed here first. I'm that type of guy that I don't want to go off anywhere else and put my all into their program where I've been putting all my all into this program right here, whether I've been playing or not. Like, so I was like, man, I might as well just go ahead and put my foot down and give it everything I have.
What's the vibe in the locker room the last 2 games when you guys had trailed in the first half, and you see you're in a battle maybe more than you were the first 3 games? What were the coaches like? How much are you guys paying attention?
Like I said before, we don't ever worry about the scoreboard. We don't worry about the scoreboard until the end of the game, like, period. No matter if we're up by 40 or down by 40, we never worry about the scoreboard until the end of the game. So coaches, their vibe is always the same. It's never negative. It's never, it's always the same whether we're up or down. Even if we're up by a whole lot, coaches still try to fix our mistakes that we did make and try to fix them just going into the second half. So nobody really worries about the scoreboard at all. We just stick to the game plan, and we worry about the scoreboard after the game.
How much do you think that helps you guys in terms of their being very steady with their approach?
It helps us a lot. I feel like we all commit and buy into the how everything goes, and I feel like it's pretty smart to not have to worry about that and just worry about what we can control as a defense and as a team in general. You can only control what you can control.
Yes, Kirby, I'm learning he's very specific about goals. He talks about he wants 20% havoc rate.
Yep.
We found out recently, 1 of every 8 offensive plays he wants to be explosive. How much do y'all focus on that, as opposed to the score? But you guys your bench went nuts when Stokes. Obviously that's a havoc play, that's a sack, that's a fumble, that's a return. How goal oriented would you say this program is?
I feel like we're very goal oriented for sure. I feel like especially with the havoc rate. We've been preaching that since all season. Like, we need to create more havoc, period. Like, that's going to be our new motto, is havoc. So every day at practice, film and meetings and stuff like that, we always try to, we always have like Coach come up, Coach D-Land tells us this is what we made this week on havoc, blah, 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 and then move on to the next. So he always emphasizes it, and we have like a little turnover or little numbers, so we're at 8 right now. So we try to at least get 3 a game. That's the goal, of course, but if not, then we haven't reached our goal, and we got to find a way to be able to do that.
More questions?
In the press conference earlier that we just got done with Kirby, he mentioned that one of the roles of these assistants is kind of showing you guys film from the NFL of plays that he wants y'all to see, or maybe elsewhere in college football. As a defensive player, what are some guys or some teams that you see and you're like, hey, yeah, I want to try to be like this, or this, like some of these teams or plays that the coaches want you to not copy, but if you could play like that, like that's a good example.
Well, I mean, some of the examples, they show us a mixture of a little bit of everybody. It doesn't really, not really just one specific team, but one, for example, as a D-line, we might show us a clip of the Rams defensive end of Aaron Donald, one of the best defensive tackles in the league, and his pass rush moves, and being able to, put as much pass rush moves in our bag as possible so we can be able to pull them out on game day and stuff. So I think that helps a lot.
And are there any guys, maybe on teams that you might potentially play where you're like, hey, I respect that guy's game a lot, and maybe try to use some of what they do, or like maybe specific guys that are playing right now?
Well, I know for sure. I see, like for example, Aaron Donald, like I said before, and also Lorenzo Carter as well, who also was here. I mean, we take a look at those guys who make plays, and Leonard Floyd and Khalil Mack, guys like that make big plays in the league. We try to, mock those guys, and because that's also, those are guys that we want to, be like them one day, or maybe not be exactly like them, but see ourselves in their shoes and kind of maybe mocking them one day. And that's always the goal, is to, go to the league and learn as much as possible. So seeing guys in the league do that, it's always good, because we try to mock it here before we actually get the preparation as we get here, and so we can, by the time we get to the league, we can execute at a high level.
Thank you.
Thank you.